Well, Cheryl, it's 8:30. Are we good to go?
You're muted.
You're muted.
I know. The clock in the office is a little behind, so I didn't realize it was 8:30. Yes, I'm good to go, and I think we have enough people here, looks like.
Okay, great. Good morning, everyone. Glad to see you all again. It's been a little while. Hope you're all safe and healthy. I'd like to call the June 2020 Committee on Accreditation meeting to order. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Jose Luis Alvarado. Jose Luis Alvarado.
He was
See
here.
his
He
empty
just
chair.
stepped out of his chair.
Okay, we'll come back. Cynthia Almos. Joe Malin Bulatayo.
Here.
Kathy Gracia.
Here.
Katrina Chikowski.
Here.
Cheryl Forbes.
Here.
Robert Fraley.
Here.
Michael Hillis.
Here.
Martin Martinez.
Bob, can you hear me?
Yes.
I can't hear you.
Anna, I can hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anna Moore.
She can't
Gerard.
hear us right now.
Yeah.
Her
Gerard
microphone.
Morrison.
Yeah.
Iris Riggs.
Here.
Heide Rodriguez.
Here?
We have a quorum. We'll come back. Let's see. Who are we missing? Anna, can you hear us okay?
And Jose Luis
Jose.
Alvarado.
And
Yeah,
Jose?
Mhm.
Oh, so we'll have the records show that Jose Luis is here.
And Anna is here.
And
Anna's
Moore
here.
is also here. And Cynthia Amos will be joining us around 10 o'clock.
Okay, great. So we do have a quorum. Thank you, everybody. Again, good to see you all. Just a couple of reminders as we begin the day. Different type of meeting than our usual face-to-face. It's going to be very similar to what we did in May. And this is a reminder that we are once again conducting this meeting entirely virtually. The protocols for the COA meeting are a little different than what they were in our earlier meetings in the season. So I want to take a few minutes to walk through them just before we get started the day's agenda. First, the meeting is being conducted entirely via technology. Minimal staff are present at the commission offices and members are participating from their own locale. This Zoom has been made available to the public. We are using the webinar platform in Zoom that we use for our May meeting. When it's time to take up an item, we will need a moment to bring the appropriate attendees into the main meeting room and be sure that they can see and hear the committee and we can see and hear them as well. Participants will need to turn on their camera and be sure they unmute their microphone. Any member of the public that wishes to speak should use the raise hand feature located at the bottom of the screen. Staff will monitor for raised hands and bring those individuals onto the meeting at the appropriate time. And obviously these virtual meetings make logistics a little more challenging than usual, so we're just going to ask everybody for their patience. Just a few more things of note. Microphones. Members of the committee, we're going to mute your microphones to eliminate any background noise that may get in the way of others hearing what is being said by the speakers. We ask that when you do speak, you unmute yourself, but then please, once you are done speaking, go back to being muted. You may use the spacebar to temporarily unmute yourself as long as the active window is in the Zoom window, pardon me. So it's like an intercom system. You don't press the spacebar when you're speaking and release it when you are done. Members of the public and other stakeholders who are joining the meeting as attendees, your microphones are muted automatically. When you are invited into the main meeting room to speak, the moderator will give you permission to unmute yourself. On a computer, you will do this by clicking the microphone icon in the bottom left-hand corner of the Zoom window. And for Zoom identification, we'd like to ask that everyone check their Zoom ID and be sure it contains your first and last name accurately so that we are able to call on you appropriately and also so that we get all the names accurately recorded in the record. If you need to update your name, click on the 3 dots in the window with your picture to bring up the rename option. Regarding commenting or asking questions, Committee members, some of you may be using the video audio functions and some of you might be using audio only. If you're using the video and wish to make a comment, please either physically raise your hand on camera or use the raise hand feature in Zoom, which is located at the bottom of the Zoom screen. I think for me, it's easier if I just see the hand pop up. Anna might have her own preference, but I think that's the easiest way to communicate quickly since we're always looking at each other on the screen that way. But if you're unable to do any of those options, as a last resort, you can also send a message in the chat feature in order to signal that you have a question or a comment to make. Several of us will be looking for those with comments or questions in the chat and the raised hands, but please be sure we don't miss if you have something to say. And we will pause generously in between discussion items to be sure everybody's voice is heard. Because we are a public body and must conduct our business in the public forum, we ask that you please do not use the chat feature to make substantive comments or have discussion on any items. Public attendees of this meeting cannot see the chat box, and those who view the video archive of this meeting will not have access to any conversation that is posted in the chat. Regarding motions and roll call vote, we'd like to ask that when you have a motion that you state the motion in full, and it's really important, and probably more important than ever, that everyone participating is very clear as to what the motion is that is on the table. We also need to conduct each vote by roll call, and this will take a little time, so please bear with us. Just before the vote, we will remind everyone to make sure you are unmuted so that we don't miss anyone's vote. If you are unable to respond via video or audio, you may make your voice known through the chat function. The secretary will have to read your name and also your vote when she gets to that part of the roll call to make it official part of the record and to make sure the public knows what the vote is. Because this can be quite cumbersome, we'd like to leave this as a last option and only when absolutely necessary. For public comment, if any member of the public wishes to comment on a specific item, please use the raise hand feature at the bottom of your screen during the item. You will be brought into the main meeting room at the appropriate time and asked to state your name and affiliation for the record. There is also a time designated for general public comment at the end of the meeting. If you wish to speak on a specific item, please send a request through the chat feature in Zoom telling us which item you wish to speak to so we can make sure to call on you during the appropriate time. Please make sure we have your full name and affiliation and which item number and name you wish to address. If you do not have the video or audio feature, you can also send comments to the chat mode and we will read those aloud. Again, please be sure to include your full name and your affiliation. Just like an in-person meeting, this meeting is being recorded. And after the meeting ends, the archived video and audio will be available via the commissioner's or the commission's website. So regarding the long list of protocols, any committee members have any questions or comments regarding the protocols?
So we had a few that had technical problems, and I think Anna, you're all set now. Is that correct? And then Jose Luis, are you okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And then Joe Moline, you had some issues.
I still see everyone as a blank box, but I think I'll just roll with it.
Okay.
Okay, and your video is slightly delayed, it looks like.
Oh,
Joe
okay.
Moline. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you. We now come to the point of the meeting. We'd like to acknowledge several committee members who are going to be leaving us, sadly. And before we get too deep into further discussion, I'd like to acknowledge the two COA members who are going to be leaving us, unfortunately. One is Jose Luis Alvarado, and the other is Iris Riggs. Iris is completing her second term and her last term of office on the COA. And Jose Luis Alvarado is leaving us to focus on taking the California State University, Los Angeles into the future as its provost. And we are fortunate to have Executive Director Mary Sandy to join us. And I'd like to invite her to say a few words. And we also have a certificate we'd like to present to both of you in recognition of the stellar work that you have both done with us in the committee. Executive Director Mary Sandy.
Thank you so much, and good morning, everyone. It's great to see you. Thank you for being here. Your fortitude in carrying on despite everything is much appreciated. So, Iris, today we would like to express our immense gratitude to Iris Riggs for 8 years of service to the Committee on Accreditation. Iris was originally appointed by the Commission to the COA and served from 2010 to 2014. She then did not seek a second term so that she could, quote, give someone else a chance. But she missed this important work so much that 2 years later, she reapplied and was reappointed to serve again from 2016 to 2020. In both of her terms, Iris has brought a deep sense of commitment to improving educator preparation. Iris has been a tireless advocate for high-quality programs that ensure that structures, processes, and relationships are in place to benefit prospective educators. Iris's experience in K-12 education, in the CSU system with preliminary programs as well as induction programs, and her mathematics education background all contributed to her powerful voice on the COA for quality preparation programs. In her questioning of institutions, although Iris has always been kind and supportive, the strength in her message has always been consistent, that the institution must do the right thing. Iris always worked to help the state further the vision that there should be a seamless connection between preliminary programs and induction for candidates. Her observations, comments, and decisions on the COA over the years have undoubtedly contributed to improving programs across the state. Iris, on behalf of the Commission on Teacher Credentialing, we thank you for your many years of service to the Committee on Accreditation. We will miss you, but we are comforted in knowing that your contributions to educator preparation at your own institution will continue. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Those words mean more than you can know. And the work that this group does is just so important. And I feel a bit selfish that I came back and didn't allow others to do it. But it's just been a high point of my career to serve in this way. And I will greatly miss it. So thank you for the opportunity to work with you all through all these years. It's good work that you all do.
Iris, we're going to miss you. And I know I've sent you a couple of private messages, but I'm going to miss your professionalism, your insightfulness, and it's the relentless pursuit of truth and fairness, I think, that stands out amongst everything that you've done. There's without a doubt that you've given us all so much to think about. And there's countless times where just when we think the discussion is finished, you say, but wait a minute, what about? And it's those kind of things that really keeps us looking at all different angles and all perspectives and being sure that we are, turning over the rock and being sure we really understand what it is that we're looking and that we give opportunities for everybody to explain their positions. And as Executive Director Sandy said, be sure that all the programs are upstanding and living forth for what they need to do for their standards. So anyways, we're going to miss you. I'm going to miss our cab rides to the airport too. So, but we'll all stay in touch.
Well, I thank you. You've all been very patient with my questioning, and I'm sure sometimes it got quite annoying. So,
Not annoying. Iris, we've been together for 10 years. Can you believe it?
No.
When we joined this table, this committee together, it looked a lot different. But one thing that never changed was your unwavering commitment, your guidance, your ability to see into our hearts, at least my heart, about what was the right thing to do. And, I might sit there and go, well, do I need to talk about this and say it? And then you would. And I thank you for that. I'm going to really miss you. From the get-go, you were providing me with insight and guidance and reminders about protocol and what our work is when we sit down. And I will truly miss you. Thank you for everything.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hey, I want to say something too. As a new member of this august group, wow, out of the chute, I was like, I want to be like her when I grow up on the POA. That's my attitude, Iris. I am impressed by the way you set the standard for all of us to be present and to listen and to ask questions and to inquire and to really, be on our game at these meetings, both at the table and off the table with documentation. It's so obvious that you were super familiar with what we had been given to read. And so as a way of learning about how the COA rolls, you were a mentor and a guide to me starting this off, and I hope to attempt to walk in your footsteps. Thank you.
You're doing beautifully. No worries for you.
Keep in touch.
Yeah. Member Forbes?
Well, what everybody else has said, I echo. And I just wanted to add that from a program sponsor point of view, I also appreciated Iris so much when I was with my institution sitting there waiting to hear the conversation about our accreditation site visit. I still remember the kinds of questions that you asked and how much we learned from those. And my boss was really impressed too. And that's what led him to say, maybe you should be on that group. So thank you so much for that from that perspective, as well as your colleague and paisano.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh my gosh, I didn't expect this. So thank you all.
And Iris, we do have a certificate for you that we would have given you in person and, you know, taken the pictures and that kind of thing, but we will make sure you get it.
My husband told me, I said, you know, the first time I hated the picture you took the last time of me. And I was so looking forward to a brand new picture. And he said, when the certificate comes, he'll shake my hand and we can take a selfie with it.
Very good.
Commissioner Rodriguez, you wish to say something?
Yes, thank you. Iris, you will be missed. I've always enjoyed being in meetings with you and listening to your very incisive questions, and that sort of like the finale that was mentioned, you know, like the questions go on, and then when you come in, and I vividly recall a time when you said, was I too tough, or was that, and I said, you know, that's exactly what one of the reasons why this liaison position was either reinstated or created, so that, you know, we could make sure that what we're asking for at the commission is being carried through. And I think that you've been a huge part of sort of taking what it is that we're looking for and bringing that with your questions. You know, everyone has, but you've really modeled incisive questioning, and I really appreciate that. And I've enjoyed all of the times that we've worked together. And thank you so much on behalf of the commissioners. Thank you for your service.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, and we really appreciate that.
That's also wonderful. Thank you. It makes it all the harder to leave you.
Well, I guess we'll say we're leaving, but maybe we'll see you at the table in some other capacity.
We'll see.
Okay. All right.
Shall I move on?
Yes, please.
All right. Jose Luis, we thank you for your 3 years of service on the committee. Dean Alvarado has served on the committee since 2016 and leaves us to assume the provost position at California State University, Los Angeles. On behalf of the commission, I would like to congratulate you on this new and really quite important leadership role. Jose Luis assumed the deanship at Cal State Monterey Bay several months after they had had a rather challenging accreditation site visit. Once he stepped into that role, Dean Alvarado worked to reshape many of the programs at CSU Monterey Bay. In particular, he worked tirelessly to ensure appropriate attention was paid in the curriculum and the field work to students with special needs and to equity issues. Throughout his tenure on the COA, he continued to be a consistent and passionate advocate for all students, particularly those who have been disenfranchised by our educational system. Like Iris, he has pushed institutions to think more deeply about their programs and their candidates, and to innovate and improve to better serve the state's K-12 students. He never hesitated to bring the institution's voice into the discussion. As a dean of a CSU campus, he brought an important perspective about the limitations and, perhaps more importantly, the opportunities for public institutions to continue to play a critical role in the preparation of educators for public schools in California. So, Jose, As you leave the committee to go on to lead Cal State LA in this really challenging time, we're sad to see you go and to let you go. But we are excited for you and for Cal State LA as we know firsthand of your commitment to quality, to public service, and to the importance of opening up educational opportunities for new generations of students. Congratulations again, and thank you for your service.
Thank you so much, Mary. It truly has been a pleasure for me serving on the COA. In fact, my intentions were to continue even though my role changed. However, with the pandemic having a significant impact on state resources, it just made me realize that my position is going to require my full attention. And I definitely want to be fair to the COA and to the CTC. And if I can't give 100% of my effort, then I think it's best for someone else to step in. And I say that as someone who has gone through the public school systems, the community college system, the CSU system in the state of California. Our own two grown sons went through the public school system. I again, understand the importance of making sure that we prepare the best teachers possible for the state, and to make sure that there's a clear focus on addressing those students who have been underserved. That every student deserves the best quality teacher, and so for me, I didn't speak when you were being recognized, Iris, because I didn't want to take up too much time. But you also were my sort of mentor, my role model. And I, did the best that I could to make sure that I sort of model myself after your efforts, always being prepared, asking the tough questions. And I do understand what it's like to be on the other side. As Mary mentioned, when I first stepped in at CSUMB, it was on the tail end of a very difficult visit. But in the end, it's that insightfulness and that sort of directness about what needs to be done that ultimately led us to ending up with a much better program. And so I wish that for every institution that comes across the COA, that it's not about trying to nitpick, but rather to make sure that every institution does what's right for their students, because ultimately it will impact the students they serve. So again, thank you so much for the opportunity, and I'm going to miss all of you.
We're going to miss you greatly, Jose Luis. I mean, the background that you have is in the knowledge of the educational system, both as a student and where you were as a dean at Monterey, and you are the perfect person to lead Cal State LA in the future. I can't think of anybody better. I can't believe you're leaving Monterey, of all things, the most gorgeous place in the world, but LA needs you. Cal State LA needs you, and we need you too. But you have brought so much of your experience and expertise to the table, and I really believe were it not for the fact that you've had that experience as a California student and educator and leader in the educational world, that the COA wouldn't have had the experience and the background and knowledge that we've had over the past 4 years with you. So thank you so much for being part of us, and you're local now, so stay in touch.
Thanks, Bob. I will reach out.
It doesn't matter that you were just here 3 years, because your impact was great in those 3 years. And I feel like you brought a different perspective to some of the reports that we reviewed. And I learned from you in those 3 years. And so while I'm thrilled to have you in Southern California, I know that it is a loss for the COA to see you go and to lose your powerful voice and your caring voice, your committed voice. So it was a pleasure and honor to work with you in these 3 years.
Thank you so much, Iris.
Yeah, Jose Luis, your expertise that you brought to the table with regards to higher ed was something I counted on a lot when I was reading documents, and I was thinking, I'm not sure about this and how it's working at the university level. I knew I could count on you to be at home, research were, and I really appreciate that. You're so humble, and I'm so excited for you, and I know you need to move on, and it's the right thing to do, but we will really miss you. I will miss you, and I hope our paths cross again in the future.
I'm sure they will. Thank you, Anna. Again, it was a difficult decision for us to make, but absolutely the right one for us. We're going to miss Monterey and all of the great friends that we established here. But as I tell my friends, friendships have no bounds. And likewise with every single one of you, I may not be on the COA, but you're all still going to be my friends, whether you like it or not.
Okay, again, as one of the more junior members of the group, I got to say that I'm like bordering between like sadness and anger. Jose Luis, I can't believe you're leaving, but that's okay. I just put it out there. You know, I feel like you and Iris kind of took me under your wing and were like, okay, come on, little chick, this is how it happens around here. And you can be courageous in asking questions that advance equity and fairness and justice to all the students in the state of California, ultimately through your decisions. And Jose Luis, you know, you're Mr. Big, but you were, as someone just said, like super humble and generous and welcoming and supportive. And I felt like you recognized and respected and appreciated what every person brought to the table. And listened. You listened very well. And I really appreciate that. I think it's one thing to have expertise and not know how to listen and consider other ideas. And clearly CSULA knows what it's doing by grabbing you. So taught me a lot, inspired me. It's a small world. I hope that our paths cross again. And I will certainly keep my eyes peeled for, you know, students with special needs and how programs are embedding support for those kids in their materials. And Iris, with you, it's content matter pedagogy. That's the thing that I'm going to take from you as well.
I'd
Thank you
also
so
like
much,
to say
Katrina.
something. I'm sorry. May I speak?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. Your video is frozen. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I really can't see anyone, so I'm not quite sure when the queuing is appropriate. But I'd just like to thank Jose Luis and also Iris for being so kind and for, you know, talking me through all the milestones that I'm going through as an educator, as a new mom. And again, I will cherish the times that we've all talked, you know, in the car, during lunch, and all throughout our meetings. I'm really gonna remember you both, not just for your expertise and your amazingness, but also just for the fact that you guys are both really kind, empathetic people. And that's something that I will take with me as an educator. And again, we're all human beings, and that's something that I really need to, again, remind myself as we sit through these meetings and as we, you know, as we forge ahead in these difficult times. So again, thank you so much, Iris and Jose. I will miss you both. And I hope that in the future we'll all meet again and have the same conversations and the same lunches. Who knows, maybe at Jack's? I don't know. But again, thank you both. And I hope we all keep in touch.
Commissioner Rodriguez.
Thank you. Jose Luis, I wish you all the best at Cal State LA. I remember when you came in for the Reyes Quesada was still on the COA, and when you came in and I looked at the report and I was like, oh my God. And Reyes Quesada said, I'm going to recuse myself. He said, you don't know him? And I said, no, I don't, because we're from the same area. And I want to thank you very much for having shared your experiences. I learned a lot from you personally, and watching you serve on the COA. Thank you for your time, and you know, the university is going to be in great hands. And you know, as everybody said, our paths will cross again because we are, you know, you're kind of we're in like the same circles. So it's not goodbye. It's see you in a different iteration.
Thank you so much, Heidi. I really do appreciate that. And Joe Moeen and everyone who's shared. It really doesn't, like Iris said, it does make it really hard now to to have made this decision, but it is indeed the right one. I know you are all amazing board members, and you'll definitely continue with sort of the way that we've been going forth. I'm just sad that I'm not going to be seeing you all regularly. But for those of you who are in Southern California, I certainly will be reaching out to touch base.
Great. Thank you all for your comments, and thank you, Iris and Jose Luis. Again, so much has been said and so much more could be said. But you're not done. We still got a full day of meetings, so you can't relax yet, right? And thank you, Executive Director Sandy, for joining us. Really appreciate it. All right, we're going to move on to item 2 then of the agenda. Item 2 is the approval of the agenda. And is there a motion to approve the agenda for the June 2020 meeting? Motion made by, Committee Member Martinez. Is there a second? Second by Co-Chair Moore. And will the Secretary please call the roll?
Jose Luis Alvarado,
Aye.
Cynthia Amos, Jomeline Belatayo,
Aye.
Kathy Gracia,
Aye.
Katrina Chakowski,
Aye.
Cheryl Forbes,
Aye.
Robert Fraley,
Aye.
Michael Hillis,
Aye.
Martin Martinez,
Aye.
Anna Moore,
Aye.
Gerard Morrison,
Aye.
Iris Riggs. Iris?
All right,
Oh, aye.
all right, thank you. Motion carries. Item 3. Item 3 is approval of the minutes of the prior meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the May 2020 meeting? Moved by Co-Chair Moore. Is there a second? Second by Committee Member, I saw 2 hands at once. We'll go with Committee Member Hillis. All right, Secretary, please call the roll.
Jose Luis Alvarado,
Aye.
Cynthia Amos, Jomeline Belatayo,
Aye.
Kathy Gracia, Kathy?
Aye.
Oh.
Did you hear that? There.
Got it. Katrina Chakowski,
Aye.
Cheryl Forbes,
Aye.
Robert Fraley,
Aye.
Michael Hillis,
Aye.
Martin Martinez,
Aye.
Anna Moore,
Aye.
Gerard Morrison,
Aye.
Iris Riggs.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thank you. Item 4 is the co-chair and members' reports. Anybody have anything you'd like to report? Seeing none, I'm just checking both screens. Seeing none. Okay. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, Member Forbes. There you are. Sorry, I'm so sorry.
Well, I just wanted to briefly say that at UCS San Diego, we welcomed 2 new cohorts of prospective teachers in the last couple of weeks, which we're very excited about, a little bit apprehensive about what the year will bring and how they'll be actually interacting with students out in the field. But I feel really reassured that we're going to have excellent guidance from the commission, from all of from this group as well, and feel lucky in that regard at a very historic time in our profession.
Very good. Member Alvarado.
So for us, we also admitted a special cohort of students in our Teacher Pathway program, targeting students in the Salinas Valley, traditionally underrepresented low-income students. We also graduated the first cohort that started in our Teacher Pathway program, which is basically 100% low-income, 100% first-generation diverse in the South Salinas Valley. So Southern Monterey County, primarily low-income, high poverty area. And so we recruited 24 students in that cohort, and we were able to have them graduate with their BA in Liberal Studies in 4 years at about an 84% rate,
Wow.
which clearly exceeds anything that we've done for the campus. And they're actually currently taking courses already in the Credential Post-Bac program. And we expect to have a nice cohort of students that are going to go and give back to the community and actually become teachers and role models for the future generations that come. So we're really excited about that. We have several cohorts going, so this is just the first of many to come.
That's fantastic. Congratulations. Member Martinez.
Thank you. I'm a little excited about what Jose Luis just shared. That's a great opportunity for Ed Pathway. I wanted to share that the Sacramento County office is really excited. We received one of the regional academy grants for the California School Leadership Academy, which will really provides a great opportunity for us to serve 14 county offices and the LEAs within them to support school leaders. And what's really unique about this is, first of all, the focus on equity, but also it's a focus on central office, site, and teacher leaders. So really looking at the system. And we're really excited. It'll be led by the center at UC Berkeley Principal Institute about the opportunity to really just impact school leadership in the state. Thanks, Bob.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Thanks, Marty. Anybody else? Member Tchaikovsky.
Yeah, Sweetwater is despite all this distance remote learning conditions and uncertainty about the future, we're looking forward to welcoming our second cohort of teacher residents. We will have probably about 40 of them this year. And it's amazing how, despite the uncertainty and changing conditions, really qualified people from almost all of our teacher prep institutions in our region are interested in being teachers. These people are intrepid, they are flexible, they are open-minded and willing to see how learning can happen in different settings. They're willing to commit to teaching for 4 years per residency grant requirement. And so that's really an encouraging thing. And I would also just like to acknowledge the communication and the webinars from the CTC regarding how preliminary credential requirements are kind of some of them are moving into the clear zone. Like, for example, if a person is missing only a TPA, they can still be issued a preliminary credential and then go out there and work. And I think the communication about those flexibilities has been really clear. And I've already been in contact with several of the IHEs in my region about how induction in our district will help carry people with preliminary credentials forward. And so I'm looking forward to continuing to tap into that expertise, and I want to thank the CTC for those webinars that have been very instructive.
It's very encouraging to hear about how many students are still interested in going to teaching despite the challenges that have in the past 3 or 4 months. Those are the ones we want, right? The ones who are going to move full steam ahead and look at the obstacles more as challenges and opportunities. So that's so great for all these reports. Anybody else have any report you'd like to make? Okay, seeing none, thank you for that. Let's move on to item 5. Item 5 is staff reports. There are updates today from Ms. Clark, Ms. Hickey, and Ms. Sullivan. So Ms. Clark, would you like to begin?
Morning, members. I'm going to be very brief because I know we've got a number of items that are supposed to start pretty darn soon. The state budget is still making its way through the process, and as we know, the budget is nowhere near as positive as it was in the January budget. The commission as an agency actually has fared fairly well. The professional services division is set to get 2 new staff members, and those are still in our budget. And they're both to focus on the initial institutional approval process, a consultant and an analyst. On the slightly less than positive side of the state budget, state employees are up for about a 10% pay cut, 2 furlough days a month. That will, of course, impact the amount of work that the agency can get done. There was an executive order since your last meeting that has had big impact on teacher preparation. It's impacted both program completers for the 1920 year and applicants for fall 2020. There's lots of information about that available on the website and those webinars that you've talked about. There is a group of people that we're meeting with on a weekly basis, and we're calling it the Program Leader Collaborative Group. Actually, Mike Hillis is a member of the group, and for some former COA members. Deb Erickson from Point Loma and Pia Wong from Sac State are also members. This is 2 members from each of the 4 segments, the CSU, the UC, the privates, and the district intern programs, really thinking about preliminary teacher preparation for the fall. And a survey was just opened this week to try to gather some information. The group meets every Tuesday, and we're going to have the survey data for them next Tuesday. And they're going to help us with recommendations for what are the appropriate flexibilities and the appropriate specificities for the commission at their August meeting for this coming year. You know, in April, the commission adopted a number of flexibilities, and the question just is, those may not be the right flexibilities for this coming year. So this group is helping us think about that. There's some trailer bill language that's going to impact both the length of an exam validity, which the regulations has set at 10 years, but due to the COVID situation, for a little over a year, that's going to be extended to 11 years. So from March of this year through June of 21, every passing score on an exam has an 11-year validity period, so that hopefully no candidate who is still working towards a credential has an exam score expire. Then in July of 2021, it'll go back to a 10-year validity period, as long as COVID gets cleared up and everything moves back to kind of how it was before. And the trailer bill language also is going to provide some relief for the PPS programs. The clinical practice in PPS is very prescribed. There's a minimum number of hours. There's a minimum of 2 different grade level place settings, elementary, middle, high school. There's a minimum number of hours in each of those settings. The trailer bill language removes the requirement for the minimum number of hours in the 2 different settings. The programs are still required to make sure their candidates are well prepared, but it means that no candidate will be prohibited from getting a credential because they only got 70 hours in their middle school placement instead of 100 hours. I do want to announce that Kara Mendoza is our newest administrator in the Professional Services Division. The state has some funding and is working in early childhood, and Phyllis Jacobson has moved over to kind of be our early childhood specialist administrator. She's leading that work. So Kara has joined the leadership team as the administrator for examinations, for grants, and for data research, data visualizations. So that gives us a leader to help us think through things. On a much less happy idea, Katie Croy. Dr. Croy is retiring at the end of July, and this is her last COA meeting. Katie's been with the commission 10 years. She was formerly at preparation entity here in California, and also in teaching and higher ed in other state before she came here. We are going to miss Katie desperately. Katie does usually 3 or 4 site visits every year. The last thing on mine, there are the 2 sponsored bills that the commission is sponsoring. They are continuing to move forward in the legislative process. The AB 2485, the CALRA bill, is all about the subject matter program requirements and giving additional flexibilities. And then AB 2541 Medina is about pre-accreditation, the definition of pre-accreditation, and that would help define that a candidate who gets a degree from an institution that is in the process of becoming accredited is a candidate for accreditation, that degree would count. There is an agenda item from last week's commission meeting in the legislative committee if you want to know more about those bills. That's it for me.
Okay, and then I will add to that list. First, before I start, thank you, Jose Luis and Iris. It really has been an honor and a pleasure to work with both of you. Deep respect for all that you do and everything that, you just come with so much passion and so much commitment to education. We're very, very proud to have served with you. And so I just want to say that, Iris, countless numbers of site visit reports, a couple of accreditation versions of the system, all sorts of things. And Jose Luis, I think you remember I was the site visit consultant before you got to Monterey Bay. And when you came to Monterey Bay, looking just at not only the stipulations, you said, no, I'm going to look at everything. I'm going to roll up he literally rolled up his sleeves and looked at every course and every piece of aspect of Monterey Bay to kind of think through. And I've had tremendous respect since you took over, and just to see what you did over there. And so kudos to both of you, and we're going to miss you. Staff will miss you both very much. So I want to mention that the commission adopted a new framework at the last commission meeting. So we're in the process of finalizing that, and we'll have that up on the website soon. Thank you for your help getting that to its next iteration. We have made the decision that fall visits will be virtual. Once the CSU system said that they were going virtual, it kind of made us think that we needed to do that, you know, protect our own reviewers as well as the institution. So at least for the fall, we'll obviously need to make and think about the spring as soon as we can. I just wanted to mention that Lynn Larson is our newest member of the COA, and she will be in attendance at the August meeting. Lynn is from Brandman University. She brings with her special ed background, which is good. Since we are losing Jose Luis, it's wonderful to have somebody with another, you know, special ed expertise on the Committee on Accreditation as well. Our BIR training, and Kara might want to mention this, but we just had another BIR training, but we did it all virtually. From what I understand from Kara, you can of course talk for yourself, but you know, it went well. So, you know, timing was a little bit different, but everything seemed to go well. So we will be having a couple of more trainings later in the summer and early fall. And we have a list of many, many things for staff to do over the summer. You know, we did a nice debriefing of the accreditation year, and we have a list of many, many things. You know, so we are going to be keeping busy, including we have lots of preconditions to review. So we've got lots of work to do. I do want to mention, just jumping around, at 1:15 we will be joined by Christopher Koch, who is the president of CAPE, the Council for the Accreditation of Educator Preparation, the national accrediting body. He's going to join us at 1:15 for our conversation about the crosswalk. So that we need to make sure that we are in and around 1:15. And then I think I'm going to turn it over to Erin to say a couple more things.
Thank you, Cheryl. Good morning, everyone. And yes, I will try to keep this brief. So we have made some changes to program review. Given that we have to do things virtually next year, that will include doing the program review sessions virtually. Now, if you haven't had a chance to participate, or you haven't had any faculty participate and kind of don't know, one of the advantages of or one of the aspects of program review is it gives us the ability, especially with new reviewers, to kind of get a sense of the person, the personality to a certain extent, how these folks may or may not work on a site visit team. Some people are excellent program reviewers, but a site visit team just isn't really going to be their bailiwick. We will not have an opportunity to have that kind of an experience in terms of interaction with people doing things virtually, because we will have to be putting people into breakout rooms to do their work, and in which, you know, then I don't have as much access to them. So we've made a decision to try our best this year to use experienced program reviewers. And if we do bring in a new program reviewer, we're going to place that person with one or two other experienced program reviewers. And then we can have an opportunity to maybe have some conversations with those experienced folks that they work with. So while we are recruiting right now, that recruitment, the survey that went out, that has to be completed by everybody, whether they're experienced or new. So that survey isn't just to recruit new folks. So if you have anybody on your staff or in your institutions who says, you know, I really want to do program review, but I didn't get called, whether they've done it before or not, they must complete that survey. So please do share that information with your folks if they're interested. That said, that survey has done a great job over the last 3 years or so of really increasing our pool of program reviewers for these site visits. A really, really great job. So I don't think that we will suffer for a need of teams and team members by not recruiting a lot of new people again this year. I think we'll be fine. We have a pretty deep pool again, except for, of course, those low incidence areas, you know, deaf and hard of hearing or VI or even clinical rehab. Those folks will, I think, just historically be harder to get at. So the good news there is I think we are looking at trying to gently nudge some of our very seasoned program reviewers into common standards roles, because that pool is not as deep, and looking for folks in common standards roles who could be moved into team lead positions, because with retirements and things like that, we are losing several very good team leads. So this is something that we'll be focused on for next year, of course. We made some changes to our program review guides for the coming year, and to some of the program review documentation. So the course matrix, which is that big matrix that preliminary and initial programs use to demonstrate where candidates have the are introduced to and have the opportunities to practice and be assessed on the competencies. We have added now an additional, rather than adding to the matrix itself, which is very, very meaty, we created a separate table that sort of goes along with it. The table is for these subject-specific TPEs that have been added. And so, we need to ask for some demonstration of those. It doesn't need to be quite what's in the matrix. So we created a separate table. We tacked that sort of onto the bottom of the matrix, and we posted that, and then updated the guidebooks to provide some additional guidance around using that matrix and that new table. We also updated some things in the guidebooks specifically for preliminary and initial programs, to request more specific information about advising materials that are provided to candidates related to the performance assessments, whatever performance assessment the institution is using, and when the candidates get those advising materials. And we requested some additional evidence around the IDP process to really reinforce the importance of that. And this was actually planned before these flexibilities went in place that now are making that IDP even more essential in terms of how it's completed, what's on it, and ensuring the portability of that document from the candidate's preliminary program to the induction program. So we added some more requests for that kind of data, that kind of information and evidence in program review. For induction programs, we also updated the guides, modified language around the request for an annotated list of instructional personnel to remove the requirement for resumes and vitae and the degree earned, as that is not particularly the kind of evidence we need from the instructional personnel in the induction programs. And instead we added to when they submit that annotated list that we'd like to know the credential held by that person, because that's a little bit more relevant to what they're doing in induction. We updated the request around the spreadsheet showing the appropriate mentor candidate match, and kind of got a little bit more detailed and provided an example table in the program guides. So that gives the program something to kind of build off of. And we, and that's it. So 2 things for induction and just a few things for the preliminary and initial programs. And we updated some language and some narrative in those guides around submission and how it's used and things like that. So, 3 years in, time to make some changes based on what we're hearing from the field and what we're seeing as staff. All the site visits for next year are fully assigned. Yay. That's wonderful. We've had some help from Catherine Carney, who you may all remember. She is doing a little bit of work for us on that as a retired annuitant, and that's wonderful. She's been an amazing resource. I hope she's listening right now, because I can't express my appreciation for her assistance deeply enough. And also all the common standards reviews are done, which we would have hoped would have been done a little bit sooner, but of course COVID made us kind of have to pivot and shift things around a little bit. So we've completed one final institution just last week. There's always one, that seems to be difficult to get everybody assigned and find a common date, but it is done. Institutions have all gotten their feedback and are moving forward with all of that. And that's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Terry, Cheryl, and Aaron. Your work is always overload and has increased exponentially with what's going on with COVID. So thank you so much for keeping us updated and for the work that you consistently do. So thanks again for that. Cheryl, looking at our agenda, we know we have a 9:15 roughly time certain. We also have item 6. I don't know if those from Walnut Valley Unified are online. That might be a brief item.
Yeah, it should be brief. Terry, I'm assuming that you can see the person from, Terry's got the host duties, so.
Julie Sheldon and Linda Friedman have both been brought
That's
into
Julie.
the meeting.
Okay,
right.
great. So let's do item 6 then. And item 6, the program approval recommendations. As a reminder, this item was updated and reposted on Tuesday of this week, so be sure you're looking at the most current version. And this section is for action. There is one institution with a program for approval. That is the Walnut Valley Unified School District Clear Administrative Services Credential. Joining us today to answer any questions about the proposed program are Julie Sheldon, Induction Coordinator, and Linda Friedman, Induction Specialist. Anyone need to recuse himself? All right, seeing none, would the institutional representatives like to say anything about your proposed program?
I would like to start, and first of all, thank you all for welcoming us this morning and for this opportunity. We're really, really excited about starting this CASC program. We decided it would be a great time because we had a very successful site visit for our teacher induction program the previous year, and we wanted to build upon that successful program and continue that model into the administrator induction as well. We have a really strong advisory board with all of our consortium partners. We have 6 districts in our consortium, and all had voiced a need for mentoring of their administrators and retention of administrators, and they have been really vocal, positive partners in our teacher induction program. And so they were also great partners in helping us design this CASC program in a way that continued the success of our teacher induction program, but also helped to continue the leadership training they'd started already.
Great, thank you.
I would actually just really like to thank you for the quick, basically quick response and quick feedback. And I know it was a very difficult time to try and read these documents during the pandemic, and you guys gave us great feedback really quickly, and the turnaround was amazing. So thank you for letting us get started.
Oh, absolutely. Any committee members have any questions you'd like to ask or discussion with representatives from Walnut Valley? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion to approve the Walnut Valley Unified School District's Clear Administrative Services Credential Program? And just as a reminder, the motion could be stated as clearly as possible. Member Forbes?
I move we accept the recommendation to, I move that we accept the new program proposal for Walnut Valley.
All right, thank you. And is there a second? Second by Co-Chair Moore. At this point, I'd like to ask the secretary to do a roll call, please.
Jose Luis Alvarado.
Aye.
Cynthia Amos. Jomeline Bolatayo.
Aye.
Kathy Gracia.
Aye.
Katrina Chakowski.
Aye.
Cheryl Forbes.
Aye.
Robert Fraley.
Aye.
Michael Hillis.
Aye.
Martin Martinez.
Aye.
Anna Moore.
Aye.
Gerard Morrison.
Aye.
Iris Riggs.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Thank you.
Both for joining us and being patient as we work through things. So thanks again and congratulations and good luck moving forward.
Thank you.
You bet. All right, committee, let's move on to item 8. We'll come back to 7 a little bit later on, but item 8 is the initial program approval for new program sponsors. Consultant Hart Boyd will present this action item. You may recall that at the last meeting, we approved their proposal for a general education multiple and single subject programs. Alder Graduate School of Education is seeking approval to offer a preliminary education specialist mild moderate credential program. Also joining us today are Alder Graduate School of Education representatives Heather Kirkpatrick, who is President and CEO, Nate Monley, Dean, and Dr. Eileen Ivins, Special Education Faculty. In addition, there are members of the public who wish to make some comment on the item, and any member of the public who wishes to speak, please use the raise hand feature at the bottom of your screen, and you will be called upon to speak at the appropriate time. Does anyone need to recuse themselves? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Boyd, will you please begin?
Yes, thank you. This item presents Alder Graduate School of Education's Stage 4 responses to the Preliminary Education Specialist Mild Moderate Program Standards for the committee's consideration and possible approval. A team of 2 qualified reviewers collaborated on a review of Alder's responses and came to a consensus on a final finding of a line for all program standards. As a reminder, in the previous stage, Alder was granted provisional approval by the Commission at the January 2020 Commission meeting. And at the May 2020 Committee on Accreditation meeting, this body granted program approval to Alder's preliminary multiple and single subject programs. As mentioned earlier, this item brings forward Alder's remaining program proposal for its proposed mild moderate program. You may find a hyperlink to the final submission and reviewer feedback in the item. Joining us today via Zoom are Dr. Heather Kirkpatrick, President, Dr. Nate Monley, Dean, and Dr. Eileen Ivins, Special Education Faculty. They will be available to answer any programmatic questions you may have, and staff is available to answer any process questions.
All right, thank you. We now invite the institutional representatives to briefly comment on the proposed program.
Hi, this is Heather Kirkpatrick, and thank you so much. Dr. Riggs said it best. This commission really does do such important work. We're very grateful to be back here and excited to get to discuss our special education program with you today. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kirkpatrick. Anyone else from the institution? Okay, I see none. We're now going to take public comment. Members of the public, please listen for your name, and when you are called upon, please state your full name and affiliation for the record. Because we have several items this morning, we're going to ask you to limit your comments to no more than 2 minutes, and the secretary will tell us when there are 30 seconds left of that 2-minute speaking time. So, having done that, Terry, are you going to be monitoring that, or would you like me to do so?
I can monitor the 2 minutes or the people.
The people.
The people are here, and so go ahead. You would like me to call on the first person? Susanna
Yes.
Loeb.
So, Ms.
Good
Loeb.
morning.
Yeah.
Good morning. My name is Susanna Loeb, and I'm the director of the Annenberg Institute at Brown University, where I'm also a professor of education and international and public affairs. Prior to joining the faculty at Brown, I was a professor of education at the Graduate School of Education at Stanford for 19 years and director of PACE, which is Policy Analysis for California Education. My own scholarship addresses teacher education and professional development, as well as recruitment and retention of teachers and other educators. I've studied educators in California for multiple decades. I've served as a board member with the Alder Graduate School of Education since 2017. And as a member of the Academic Affairs Committee at Alder, I've seen the model close up. Alder is developing strong teachers for California schools by a residency model. I serve on the Alder board because of the great respect that I have for the program. In this role, I've had the opportunity to see the quality of the experiences that the teacher candidates receive and how they are supported in developing the skills and dispositions that California schools and students need. We can see this from the strong demand of schools for Alder candidates and by Alder teachers' excellent retention. Alder teachers stay in the schools and with the students who need them. I want to particularly highlight Alder's ability to recruit underrepresented teacher candidates, which is a great need in California and actually throughout the country. Alder teachers reflect the communities in which they work and both bring with them and further develop an understanding of these communities. This strength of Alder is evident in its special education program as well as more broadly. Even in high needs areas like special education and STEM, Alder is able to recruit a strong and diverse pool of teacher candidates. The importance of recruiting special ed teachers in the state, the quality of the Alder programming, and the ability of the program to increase the diversity and representativeness of the educators for California all lead me to enthusiastically support Alder and to wholeheartedly recommend approval of their program. Thank you for your time and having me speak here today.
Thank you, Ms. Lowe.
Ellen Moyer.
Good morning to all of you. I'm Ellen Moyer. I'm the founder of the New Teacher Center and served as its CEO until retiring in December of 2018. I've spent almost my entire career focusing on the development of new teachers and professionalizing the teaching profession. It's been an honor and pleasure to be with you this morning and to listen in and to thank Iris and Jose Luis for their work on this commission. What I listened to and heard was kindness, listening skills, reflection, inquiry, all the things that I've witnessed Alder do in their teacher preparation program. I've spent 20 years directing teacher preparation at UC Santa Cruz and another 20 years leading the New Teacher Center, driving teacher induction across the country. Excuse me. During that period of time, I've had the opportunity to work with many of you in building out California's induction work and also creating that seamless connection between pre-service and induction. It's nice to hear that all that work is continuing. I'm here today as a board member of Alder, much like Susanna. I'm serving on the board because I strongly believe in Alder's mission to recruit and educate outstanding teachers who reflect the communities that they serve. 78% of Alder's graduates are from historically underrepresented communities where they will ultimately teach. I've been impressed with Alder's content, its curriculum, and its partnership with school districts. The way Alder has situated its residency model, it gives districts a chance to develop candidates by partnering with mentors and building out reflection and continuous improvement, skills that are necessary for ongoing development of the best teachers in this state. I want to express support and enthusiasm for Alder's program to support special ed teachers. As we all know, there's clearly a shortage in that area. On a personal note, I've worked with Heather Kirkpatrick for 20 years in various capacity. She's an amazing teacher educator and an educational leader, and I have confidence and enthusiasm that Alder's program will develop some of the best teachers for California students. Thank you for this time and for allowing me to express my strong support for this program. Be well.
Thank you, Ms. Moore.
Javon Calisette. I apologize if I mispronounced your name.
You pronounced it wonderfully. Thank you. Good morning, and thank you everybody for allowing me the time to share some public comment. My name is Javon Calisette, and I graduated from Alder in the spring of 2019 with my mild moderate special education teaching credential, and I teach in Sacramento. One of my favorite quotes about education is that education is the filling of a bucket, not the lighting of a fire. And my time at Alder definitely was an experience that ignited my passion for teaching. There are two things that stand out to me about my experience with Alder. The first being the mentor-teacher to resident pairing. Having a one-on-one connection with an expert mentor-teacher during my residency to help me with the in-person learning was absolutely irreplaceable, especially as a special education teacher. Having someone who knows the students to help me walk through the IEP process and to show me how to implement supports in the classroom was invaluable. During my first year as a teacher after the residency, I felt prepared to hold IEP meetings and to provide supports to my students and provide least restrictive environment. The second thing that I want to bring up is the focus on social justice and equity in teaching. Zaretta Hammond's Culturally Responsive Teaching in the Brain was a critical text during my residency year, and it's a text I've constantly referenced during my teaching practice. The program was cognizant to lift up many voices in our training, such as the writing and pedagogy of Black and Latinx educators. It also provided student voice from TK-12 students in the areas that we teach during our summer training in Stockton, as well as having trainings on restorative practice and from the National Equity Project. I believe also that Alder lives out their equity practices with their teacher residents by understanding that everyone has a unique process, a unique story in how they are becoming a teacher, and supporting their residents in many ways to be successful. And again, I just want to thank you for allowing me the time to share my thoughts and for considering Alder for full accreditation.
Thank you, Mr. Collisette.
Edrina Sanders Davis.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to provide a public comment. I'm Adrina Davis, and I am currently an ed specialist at one of these schools in Richmond. I completed the program in 2016 to receive my mild to moderate credential. And one of the things that I just really love about Alder Graduate School of Education was that although the program is super rigorous and very structured, it was very supportive in the way that I learned. And so what I really appreciated was the fact that I had the opportunity to work alongside an expert teacher to gain some of the just knowledge and practices and structures of how it would look when it's my time to transition into the classroom independently. One of the things that I also really appreciate is that I was able to really learn how to write very structured IEPs in the way that were student-centered and student-focused. Also being able to facilitate meetings that were family-friendly. So families were able to come into these meetings and really understand the IEP process, their student needs, and things of that matter. I also really appreciated the fact that it's an inclusive model. So when I had the opportunity to do my student teaching alongside the mentor teacher, it was really heartwarming to see that students with disabilities were being able to receive an equitable learning experience, to learn alongside peers who may not struggle in other ways. And that was just very heartwarming for me and very uplifting. Also, it was very nice to be able to develop a sense of great rapport with students. So just not knowing just the theory aspect of it, but being able to really connect with the families, the different individuals within the campuses, and also to focusing on the SEL learning for students, which is really important with the population of students that I work with and that I serve. It also is very heart-filling to be able to work with students who look like me, who typically don't always have the opportunity to work alongside teachers who may have had some of the same struggles or experiences as they have as younger adults. And it's just a blessing. I am still here 5 years later, and it's just a beautiful thing. And I just highlight just all the great work that Alder does with their resident teachers and the continued work that they do. So it's once we leave the program, it's not like, oh, you're on your own, but you still have the opportunity to connect with your mentor teachers as well as other people within the program. And so, yes, I just want to highlight how thankful I am for Alder and how it has definitely led me to be a great educator and to develop the systems and supports and resources that I need to be the special education teacher that I am today. So
thank you, Ms. Davis.
There's no additional public comment at this time.
All right, thank you, Ms. Clark. Now it's an opportunity for discussion and questions or comments from any committee member. Member Alvarado.
And I'm trying to reach back to when we last discussed this program, and I apologize if I'm asking questions that have been asked in the past. And this has to do with, I think the program is very thorough. It certainly covers program standards. The question I have has to do with specifically the training of candidates for conducting norm reference standardized assessment. And as I look through all of the course syllabi, the one course that I do see covering that content is Special Education 202. Specifically, there are two sessions in which it's selecting and then conducting. And it would seem to me, as someone who's gone through and have been experience as a special educator, 2 sessions quite is not enough to truly understand the complexities of conducting known reference standardized assessments, particularly as it relates to the disproportionality that it results when used inappropriately. And so it may be more in the curriculum, I'm just not seeing it. Again, 2 sessions in special ed 202 just doesn't seem adequate. And I hope the institution can respond to that and help me understand.
I think Nate and Eileen are probably ready to do that.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Eileen Ivins and I'm a special education faculty member at Alder. So one thing that is really salient in our model is the learning that happens in the field for the 4 days a week that our residents are with their mentors. And our mentors are guided on how to cover and when to cover certain topics, particularly as it relates to these specialized topics that you discussed, Dr. Alvarado, like norm referenced assessments and some of the procedural requirements as well, and developing an IEP, not just in the week before the IEP, but over the course of the year. So we have a document that we use and we develop to use with our partners called the gradual release. And what that document does and that process essentially does is it guides our mentors and our partner directors in gradually releasing responsibility from the mentor to the candidate, the resident. So in our gradual release for education specialists, we have observing the administration of a norm referenced academic assessment in September. And then throughout the fall, they take on subtests and understand how to analyze the results hand in hand with the mentor. So that gradual release allows multiple opportunities for the resident to both observe and participate in administering, analyzing, and then sharing out the academic assessment, norm reference academic assessment with families and IEP team in order to make those instructional and LRE decisions and programmatic decisions for students with disabilities. I hope that helps to clarify how the fieldwork component dovetails with the coursework piece.
Yeah, that's really helpful. What that didn't come through to me when I was looking at the course syllabi for fieldwork and also the seminars, because I was looking for that there. And I believe that maybe we had this conversation in the past, but I didn't see it in the documentation. I didn't see it in the course syllabi. What you just described, I didn't read it. And so it would be helpful if it becomes more explicit that indeed there's this gradual release of, you know, I do, we do, you do sort of approach to training candidates. I think that would be really helpful.
Yeah.
You know, though, if I may, what I heard Jose Luis asking about too, though, was content in the coursework that explicitly considers the outcomes on an aggregate basis of these assessments, that there are historically significant overrepresentation of certain students within special education as a function or an outcome of application of these exams. So while I get the whole, like, empowering a teacher candidate to make independent and wise decisions about how to administer those tests, what I heard Jose Luis asking about would also include taking a look at the aggregate result of these assessments and asking questions about whether or not certain groups of students are overrepresented within that population. I mean, that seems very strongly aligned with Alder's mission and its core values. So I would assume it exists somewhere. Maybe it's as Jose Luis is suggesting, just making it more evident, because clearly every time you guys come on here, you're like educating the state of California about how it is that we can think differently about preparing future teachers. So again, you know, my question is intended more as a suggestion and a something for you just to consider as you move forward in designing your curriculum.
Yeah, I think if it's okay, I'd love to kind of speak into that. So hi everybody, I'm Nate Monley from Alder. It's an excellent call out about disproportionality, considering assessment scores in the aggregate. Today, actually, we start this afternoon, SPED 200, inclusive environments. And actually in the agenda today is examining how students are assessed and like across the state of California, what are the most common disabilities to be identified and what does that mean? So I just want to call out that part of the Ed 200 class that we teach in the summer, the SPED 200 class that we teach in the summer. We would look at the California dashboard, schools dashboard. We consider all levels of sort of macro assessment and what are some of the things that surfaces for us as the, you know, people who care a ton and are dedicating our careers to public education. Additionally, in the seminar course in the fall, that's one of the places where we really zero in on data analysis, both on a macro level, again with the California schools dashboard and in some other ways, but also through considering, you know, school level, class level data, pulling it out in a variety of ways, considering instructional implications. So I think that it's a great call out and one that we need to continue to examine. It is something that's, you know, that does show up often in our coursework. And then as Eileen pointed out, the gradual release for education specialists, also you'll see what I hope is a really thoughtful progression of how do I administer assessments? What does that mean for the IEP and case management process? What does that mean in the, you know, the general ed setting? What does that mean on the school level? What does that mean on a national level?
If I just may sort of follow up on Gina's point, that even as I look at Ed 200, what you just said is also not clearly explicitly stated in the course syllabi. And so again, it's about being explicit about what you actually do in the program. So first it's understanding just, you know, the mechanics of how do you do it. But it's just as important, the ethical use of and the interpretation of such instruments and the impact that it has on students of color. And so it's both of those that I quite didn't see that coming out. I hope that's clear. That again, it's about not just, you know, doing a good job in teaching them the mechanics of conducting them, but using them in a responsible way that doesn't harm our student populations. It's absolutely critical. And Nate, you mentioned it, but again, I'm looking at 200 and I don't see what you just said. So again, making your documents explicit about what your intentions are and what you're trying to instill in your candidates, it's absolutely essential.
Thank you, Member
Dr.
Tchaikovsky.
Alvaro. We can do that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just thinking, Dr. Alvaro, we can be much more explicit about the critical race theory that we bring and the lens that we bring around DEI, looking at disproportionality in all of the ways that is so important to all of us. So thank you for the call out.
All right. Thank you. And Member Tchaikovsky. And then Member Moore.
Yeah, I just as an addendum to state the obvious, you know, a lot of the current national discourse out there right now is grounded in young people's education experiences in education, right? We have a school to prison pipeline. There are certain students who are on that train who should not be on that train. And the role of our system in addressing students with special needs or students with disabilities and all the cloaking language around tracking is important. it's never been more important than it is now to call that out, to name it explicitly, especially for Alder's mission and for your continued ability to attract and prepare powerful agents of systemic change like those that you bring here at all of our meetings. Your recent graduates and your current students are exactly the type of voice that needs to be at the front and center of educational reform right now. So again, on behalf of my voice and the Committee on Accreditation, I think that it's incumbent on all of us to really look at the role of, our decisions and our systems in schools and how those contribute to, systemic racism, because it's got its roots with us. So thank you for thinking about that.
Co-Chair Moore.
Different tangent. I just wanted to thank the teachers who showed up today, Javon and Adrina. It was so nice to hear your voice. I couldn't have said it better when Katrine said powerful agents of systemic change. Don't forget about the power of the work that you were doing as the teachers. And I just want to say thank you, not just for coming today, but for the work that you're doing. The job that you have is really, really tough. And I know you are living and breathing it every single day. You take your walk after work and you're thinking about it. You wake up in the morning, you're thinking about it. You are just so amazing. I've been there, I'm doing it, and I just want to say thank you for coming, and thank you for speaking, and thank you for doing the good work that we're all here for.
Thank you, Co-Chair Moore. All right, this is an action item. Is there a motion by a committee member? Co-Chair Moore.
I motion that we accept the accreditation that is recommended by the staff, a full accreditation.
This is an initial program approval at this point, right?
Okay, let me see. I don't have the
excuse me, that's the case. It's a initial program approval.
Okay. I recommend that we accept the recommendation for initial program approval for Alder.
All right, it's second by Co-Chair, by Member Forbes. Would the Secretary please call the roll?
Jose Luis Alvarado.
Aye.
Cynthia Amos. Jomeline Balatayo.
Aye.
Kathy Gracia. Kathy?
Aye.
Okay. Katrina Chakowski.
Aye.
Cheryl Forbes.
Aye.
Robert Fraley.
Aye.
Michael Hillis.
Aye.
Martin Martinez.
Aye.
Anna Moore.
Aye.
Gerard Morrison.
Aye.
Iris Riggs.
Aye.
Motion carries. Congratulations, Alder. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Kirkpatrick, Dr. Monley, Dr. Ivins. Also, the names are disappearing. The two students or teachers, former students who are joining us. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Boyd. And also, Mr. Boyd, congratulations on your quarantine beard. It is quite impressive.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you all. Looking at, we did have a time certain at 9:30, which is item 10, and then item 12 was a 10 o'clock time certain. Items 7, 9, and 11 are not time certain, so we can come back to those. Cheryl, what if we took a brief stretch break, 5 minutes, and then come back and do item 10 followed by 12?
Okay, that sounds good.
All right, folks, we'll see you in 5 minutes. All right, looks like we have a quorum back here, so we're going to reconvene the meeting, the COA June meeting, and we want to welcome committee member Cynthia Amos, who's joined us. Yeah, hi, Cynthia. Okay, we're going to move on with item 10. Item 10 is the accreditation report of the site visit team to the University of the Pacific. Administrator Cheryl Hickey and consultant Poonam Bedi will introduce this item. Joining them today is team lead Jim Zarillo and institutional representative Patricia Campbell, Dean of the Bernard College, and Dr. Linda Webster, Senior Associate Dean and Professor of Bernard College, University of the Pacific. Does anyone need to recuse themselves?
Bob, I need to recuse myself.
All right, thank you. We note one committee member, Martinez, recusal. Anyone else? All right, thank you. Ms. Hickey, will you please begin?
Sure. Certainly. So good morning. Item 10 is the team report to the University of the Pacific. The consultant on this visit for a large part of the year leading up to the visit was William Hattrick. And I want to thank William for all of his work in getting this institution ready for its accreditation site visit. And he met with them regularly for many months. I took this visit over only weeks before the visit date. And I must tell you that the institution was very well organized. A tribute to the work of both the institutional personnel, most especially Linda Webster, and William Hattrick in consulting with the institutions for the months leading up to this, as well as assistant consultant Poonam Betty, who I want to acknowledge. Poonam was amazing leading up to and during the visit. She was invaluable in the process of getting the team ready to move from a face-to-face visit to an entirely virtual visit, and took care of more of the logistics than I can even possibly begin to mention. We want to thank our team, which included a couple of brand new BIR members. They were exceptional, which gives me confidence in the revised BIR training. And mostly I would like to thank Dr. Jim Zarilla for his leadership as the team lead on this visit. Dr. Zarilla is always a pleasure to work with, and he does an excellent job leading the team with challenging and sometimes stressful job of interviewing and coming to consensus on decisions. So thank you, Dr. Zarilla. As I mentioned, this visit took place April 26th through 29th, so we did have some time after the stay-at-home order to plan for a virtual visit, and the university seamlessly transformed this visit to that face-to-face, from face-to-face to virtual. And they used its own technology platform, so we didn't use Zoom, we used Collaborate, and that worked really well. The team had to learn that, and it was similar to Zoom, so they were fairly comfortable once they got some training by the institution. And again, before I turn this over to Dr. Zarrillo, the team lead, I have to say that one of the challenges of this visit is that although there are a finite number of programs, UOP offers many, many pathways to those credentials, and they have numerous partners, as we heard recently about Alder. So the team really had to understand the complexity of this university and all of its various players and sort of get it all straight in their heads. So I will now turn this over to Dr. Zarrillo. And I saw his name here, so.
Dr. Zarrillo, I believe you're muted.
I'm no longer muted.
There you go.
There you go.
I exist, therefore I am, if only virtually. Okay, so echo Cheryl's comments of gratitude, especially to William, Cheryl herself, and Poonam for all their help. Had a great team. Every visit teaches you things. As a reviewer, one thing this visit reinforced was the necessity of prior preparation. This team was exemplary on that. 60 days out when the institution's accreditation website goes live. Fortunately, we were beginning to see shortly thereafter inquiries from members of the team about data, about things that seemed to be inconsistent. Gave us a good chance to resolve those. And of course, thanks to the UOP people, real visits, bricks and mortar visits put certain challenges and demands on the host institution, which don't exist with a virtual visit. Things like getting us to and from the hotel, to the site, meals, that type of thing. But there are new demands, and UOP handled them well. They have to do with technology and the accessibility of their staff to help us when we needed it, and that was all there. And I would like to say something about a virtual visit. I've been through a lot of these visits on both sides, as a accreditation coordinator, dean, associate dean, and on the other side as a reviewer and as a team lead. The virtual visit in no way compromised the integrity and the validity of our result. It was hugely successful. And I'm not sure what the appropriate policymaking body is, whether it's COA or the commission itself, but virtual visits need to be considered well after the current crisis is over. They need to be an option, I think, that's out there in certain situations. Okay, as to the results were full accreditation, and visits are about standards, and UOP not only met the standards, whether it was for the unit itself or for programs. There were many, many times when the team wished we could have given them something higher than met, like, really, really met, or double platinum met, or something like that, because much of what they're doing is state of the art, and it is wonderful to witness. Preconditions, all met. Common standards, all met. There are 91 program standards, 90 of them were met. We found one standard that was met with concerns, and both when you're reporting out to the institution and when you're talking to the COA, this is the least pleasant aspect of this. I would like to talk about the 90 standards the programs met beautifully, but instead I've got to spend my time on the one that was met with concerns. But that's the song that's been composed, and now I have to sing it. All right, so it was multiple and single subject standard 3, which has to do with clinical practice. There are many subcomponents to this standard, and 2 we felt we had concerns about. One was 3B as in boy, which establishes criteria, in fact, it establishes 6 criteria for determining sites that are appropriate placements for multiple and single subject student teachers. And there is no evidence that they were using those criteria to analyze the site. Now, let me tell you what was happening. There was no question that the candidates, the completers, master teachers, principals, everybody thought the field experience for the general ed candidates was wonderful. It was doing what it should do. It was allowing them to work with excellent master teachers and to see very effective programs, especially for English learners and special needs kids. But they weren't screening the site like they probably should have. The good news is that they had in place personnel, policies, and procedures to do exactly what 3B calls for, but they hadn't fully implemented it. It was a matter of them not being far enough along in that. And maybe Linda will talk a little bit now, subsequently, about where they are in terms of implementing that. Now, 3D is in delightful. That has to do, it's a second paragraph relating to district employed supervisors. No problem on the first paragraph, but the second paragraph is very specific in that there has to be a minimum of 10 hours of orientation and training. The cooperating teachers we interviewed said it was between 6 and 8. So it was a matter of them not having enough. But again, as with 3B, what we did see is we saw that policies, procedures, and personnel were in place to be sure that everybody had the minimum of 10 hours. And even further, that some of the topics that the candidates mentioned that they wish their cooperating teacher had been better versed in, specifically the teacher performance assessment and the timeline for the gradual release, those are being met. They have the policies and the procedures were there, they just weren't fully implemented. Anyway, all the data sources we looked at through the process, the documents, the interviews, the team has a very high degree of confidence in our result, which is accreditation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zerillo. Pardon me. We now invite the institutional representatives to briefly comment about the visit. We remind you, this is not a time to dispute the team report, but rather provide any thoughts you had about the visit.
Sure, I would love to say a few words about, certainly about all the site visitors and the site visit itself. And again, I'll echo what Cheryl said about the support of William and Poonam. They were both absolutely fantastic and gave me, this is the first time in this role that I have had kind of overseeing everything, gave me a lot of heads up. And that was very, very helpful in me making sure that all the data was available for the actual site visit. And they were tremendous at moving from a face-to-face site visit to a virtual site visit. The team was really, I feel very, very fortunate to have had such a great team and such a great team leader in Jim Zerillo, and that's not gratuitous. I really, really mean that. Things went off so much better than I was afraid they were going to, given the move to virtual. So I was very, very pleased. And as always, it's always interesting and useful for the institution to get constructive feedback on ways to improve, because we always want to continue to improve. So I'll say a few words about the things that we have done and put in place and are going to be doing moving forward to address the concerns that were raised. Our Director of Field Experiences has developed criteria and a process for identifying placements and cooperating teachers, as well as a process for documentation, because I think that was a big piece that was missing. The sites were good sites, but we didn't have a process for identifying and documenting that those sites were meeting the criteria. So we do have that moving forward. The director has also developed a detailed schedule of training for both district employed supervisors as well as university supervisors on very specific areas, and the hours of the orientation training exceed 10 hours. And there is ongoing training that she has scheduled out across the year, and forms to document the training for each supervisor. And she will oversee, the director of field experiences will oversee the implementation of all of these processes and documentation. And she will report directly to me on that documentation so that we can verify that we are in compliance and also discuss ways to improve the training, the orientation, as well as the ongoing training. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to make a comment?
Patricia here. I'm just going to chime in and echo Linda's comments. And this was my first time going through it as well. And I have to say it was just so well done. When we first thought it was going to go virtual, we had some concerns about how things might go, but it went exceedingly well. So I want to thank the team for all their work, and Linda for all the work that she did.
Great, thanks. And nice to hear that all the challenges were overcome. So thank you so much. Any questions or comments from committee members? Co-Chair Moore.
Thank you for the great report. Zarilla, your comments and clarifications were really helpful with some of the questions that I had. And really, I just wanted to compliment, I'm trying to look at my notes and look at the screen. Also, you have the Tiger, oops, sorry. Scrolling through my notes here. You were awarded the grant for the University School Partnership, and you've tied that to your Tiger Teacher Program. And it just sounds like, when I was reading it, like a great program. And congratulations on the grant. And it sounds like the site visit went well. It was a great visit, great report, and really appreciated it. Thank you.
Thank you, Co-Chair Moore. Any other committee member wish to make a comment? Member Hillis.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you could quickly just talk a little bit about the relationship with your external affiliates. Just curious about that relationship and how that works, and what your part is within those external relationships.
Let me answer as a reviewer. I know you're probably aimed the question at Linda, but one issue you have when reviewing an IHE that has external partners, of course, is to be sure that the institution has appropriate oversight and collaboration, and that in fact these are UOP's programs from an accreditation standpoint. They may be operated by Alder or BATI, B-A-T-T-I, but in fact the question is, are they integrated? Are they a part of the unit? And in this case, we were pleasantly surprised. It was like a state-of-the-art thing. Candidates do spend time at the campus. The oversight from the university with the Alder and BATI was excellent. It was ongoing. It was substantive. And the interviews with the Alder and BATI candidates showed that they felt a part of UOP. So from an accreditation standpoint, what they were doing was working well when it comes to the issue of external partners and an IHE. And then Linda might want to talk a little bit more, obviously, about exactly how they did that.
Sure, I'm happy to talk about that if you'd like. And I could talk on and on, so I'll try to keep it brief. So the partnerships operate under a memorandum of agreement where everything is laid out ahead of time. It is cohorted. The partnerships were cohorted. And so a group of students come in, there's a budget, a separate budget for each one, as well as processes and procedures for oversight to make sure that they actually are delivering the program and that they meet all of Pacific's standards. So there's a series of steps or procedures and policies laid in place. One of them is that they use our syllabi, and I review all the syllabi and the faculty, the key faculty on campus. Before the semester starts or before the term starts, I get the syllabi that gets sent out, it gets reviewed, we have discussions. It actually can go back and forth in which the Batty or Alder faculty may have important and interesting things that we didn't know about. So it's a learning opportunity for both. I do site visits for all of the instructors for both Batty and Alder. So I travel, Batty is the Bay Area Teacher Training Institute. So I go out and do observations of about an hour, hour and a half for each instructor. I do that during the year and I write that up. We do an analysis of all the program outcomes. So all the TPEs, the ED TPAs, and of course our program is tied to a master's degree with our external partners. So we look at that data as well. And I compile a report, it's about this thick, that goes to the provost on a yearly basis. That details outcomes, and also we look at instructor course evaluations in addition to my site visits. So that's probably more than you want to know. So I'll stop and you can ask more questions if you have them.
Thank you, Dr. Webster. Co-Chair Moore.
When I was scrolling, I did find one point that I just would like a teeny bit of clarification on. You mentioned on page 10 that there's a council on teacher education. However, in the report, or in addition in the report, you mentioned an advisory board. Can you clarify the difference between what the advisory board and the council, what their roles are?
I think Linda, I'll let Linda answer, though I think I know the answer, but I'll let Linda answer.
So I think what you're asking is the difference between the Council on Teacher Education is a university-wide committee. So that includes multiple subject faculty, but also faculty for our single subject credential across the campus. So we have meetings where we're discussing courses, course changes, requirements, and course sequencing to make sure that the candidates who are single subject can complete their degree and credential within the 4-year Pacific Guarantee. The advisory board is comprised of some faculty, but also partnerships with school districts, principals, hiring coordinators, and they advise the program on keeping up. So there's mutual back and forth on that, but that functions more as a traditional advisory board. Does that answer your question?
Perfect, thank you. Makes great sense.
Thank you. Any other committee member wish to offer a comment or question? Okay, seeing none, this is an action item. Is there a motion? Member Alvarado.
I move that we accept the report on the institution as written.
All right, is there a second? Second by Member Riggs, how appropriate. All right, the secretary, please call the roll.
Jose Luis Alvarado.
Aye.
Cynthia Amos.
Aye.
Jomeline Belatayo.
Aye.
Kathy Gracia.
Aye.
Katrina Chakowski.
Aye.
Cheryl Forbes.
Aye.
Robert Fraley.
Aye.
Michael Hillis.
Aye.
Anna Moore.
Aye.
Gerard Morrison.
Aye.
Iris Riggs.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Congratulations, University Pacific. Thank you so much for your work, and thank you, Dr. Campbell, Dr. Webster, Dr. Zarillo, Ms. Hickey, and Ms. Betty. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bet. Have a good day. We're going to skip item 11, move on to item 12 right now. Item 12 is the where is my paper? There it is. It's the Montebello Unified School District. So it's the report of actions taken to address stipulations by Montebello Unified School District. Consultant Gay Roby will introduce the item. Also joining her are institutional representatives Dr. Anthony J. Martinez, Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Kaivan, I hope I pronounced this, Nguyen, Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, Helen Meltzer, Director of Educational Services, Angelica Paz, Program Specialist for the Teacher Induction Program, Patty Salcino Maez, Teacher on Special Assignment for the Teacher Induction Program, Matthew Ortiz, Teacher on Special Assignment, Teacher Induction Program, Patty Domingo, Teacher on Special Assignment, Teacher Induction Program, and Jessica Perez, Teacher on Special Assignment, also Teacher Induction Program. Does anyone need to recuse himself? All right, seeing none, Ms. Roby, will you please begin?
Thank you very much. If you are a veteran of the Committee on Accreditation, you will recognize these people. We have had them at in our meetings at the Capitol for the last couple of years, so it's my pleasure to welcome them once again. Their initial site visit was held in March of 2018, and the Committee on Accreditation assigned them a status of accreditation with probationary stipulations, and they had 6 quite heavy stipulations that they have worked on from that time. They provided a 7th year report as well as quarterly reports during that first year. So they held a revisit in May of 2019, where the team lead, Dr. Gary Tillery from Norco Unified School District, and I revisited the group and redid interviews and relooked at documentation. And at that time, we were able to present evidence to the Committee on Accreditation so that they were able to take action to remove 3 of the stipulations, 1, 5, and 6, and move their status to accreditation with stipulations. They have continued to work on some of the ones that were more gnarly to take a little bit more time to make sure that the changes took root and have really grown. So they've come back today with their actions since June of 2019 to show you that in the past year they have continued to move forward with stipulation 2, which is about a cohesive, coordinated district level leadership structure. Program standard 6, that they have a systematic process to assess the quality of services to their mentors. However, and stipulation 3, a continuous comprehensive improvement process, and stipulation 4, that they have really fully transitioned to the 2016 induction program standards. Their report is attached to the agenda item as Appendix A, which you will have in more detail. But the staff recommendation is that the Committee on Accreditation accept the 2020 June report from Montebello Unified School District and change their accreditation status from accreditation with STIPs to accreditation.
Thank you, Ms. Roby. We now invite the institutional representatives to briefly comment about the report.
Just very quickly, this is Anthony Martinez, Superintendent of the Montebello Unified School District. Again, just want to reiterate my appreciation for the guidance and the advice that has given to us by you throughout these last few years. We do miss going up and visiting you in person, but we'll take the Zoom. It has been a journey indeed, a very rewarding and I think transformative as well. Right now with the pandemic, I just also want to share that when we consider and we look at the Learning to Teach continuum and the toolkit, our induction program had a marvelous opportunity to then take on an additional role in helping our more seasoned veteran teachers in the district address some of the CSTPs when it pertained to distance learning. So I do want to share that it was very much a collaborative effort, and with our new teachers who are currently either year 1 or year 2, and the teachers on special assignment and the administrator really had an opportunity to showcase their learning from the induction program to help our approximately 1,000 certificated employees in the Montebello Unified School District. So Your advice, your recommendations have not only benefited our induction program, but given the circumstances, it really impacted the entire culture of this organization. So I thank you for that.
Thank you, Dr. Martinez. Appreciate it. Anybody else wish to make a comment?
I also want to make a comment. I just really want to thank, again, reiterate what Dr. Martinez has mentioned, but also to Gay Roby specifically and Dr. Carrie Tillery. I think their guidance and support through this process has been one of growth for us as a team, as well as for our induction program. So not only did we learn from exemplary programs, I think we were going through induction ourselves. So thank you so much for all the comments and listening to all the stakeholder groups. So it has been a journey, especially with distance learning. We have embraced technology and really have a comprehensive understanding of the standards and how to implement those these years. Moving forward, I think we are headed for bigger and better things. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Paz. I like that, embracing technology, which we all do. So congratulations on doing so. Anybody else from the institution? Yes, Ms. Salcido Mayes.
Hi, I just would really like to thank everyone for the support, especially of being a special ed teacher. You know, that's always what I talk about whenever we flew up. I talked about special ed. This has given our program the opportunity to collaborate with other departments, educational services, but especially special education department. We now have a great cohesive relationship with special ed, and we continue to plan with them. So I'm very proud about that as a special ed teacher, and I'm grateful for it. So thank you.
Thank you. Your pride is showing, definitely. Thank you. Anybody else wish to make a comment? Yeah, sorry, Ms. Meltzer.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I just want to thank Ms. Roby for working with us these last few years. It's been a really enlightening experience, and there has been a lot of growth over the years. I've had the opportunity to work with the Montebello Teacher Induction Program and their advisory board when I was a principal and now as director. And it's truly been a work of art with the Montebello Teacher Induction Program team. The TOSAs, Ms. Paz, put everything they have into it, and it has gone from the 2018 induction program to what it is now, and it's just been just a great opportunity to watch the growth, and I'd like to thank you all this morning too for taking time with us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for your comments. Anyone else from Montebello wish to make a comment? If not, any opportunity now for the committee members to make any comments or questions you might have. Member Alvarado.
So I want to commend Superintendent Martinez and the entire Montebello Unified School District team. I think you guys are sort of our poster district for how the system works. Understanding that you guys had a steep hill to climb, but your attitude was exemplary. You took on sort of the learning hat and you rolled up your sleeves and tackled it without really trying to make excuses for what used to be, but rather looking towards the future and ensuring that every teacher receives the best induction program possible. And as you all said, focused on the standards. So I want to congratulate you guys. You've done an amazing job. It's been a journey. We've been with you. And just as you miss being in Sacramento, we miss you not being in Sacramento as well. But it's a good change now. You can focus strictly on your district. Congratulations.
Co-Chair Moore.
It's so great to see all these smiles. I just wanted to say congratulations to this team, and really appreciate your positive attitude and understanding that it is a process, and we're so glad that you're happy where you've landed through at the end of this journey, the beginning of a new one, and we're gonna miss you. But I know that Gay will be at the ready if you have any questions, and I want to thank Ms. Roby for her hard work in supporting you, and just a hearty congratulations. Fantastic. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Co-Chair Moore. Anyone else wish to make a comment? Member Tchaikovsky.
Yes, congratulations to all of you, and to not be too redundant, but I just wanted to acknowledge the very clear evidence that this is that induction is a a district priority, obviously, where you are, and you have support from the top, the middle, and the teachers, which is hugely important in your success. And if I can just, as someone who does similar work, on the other end at the bottom of the state, fight for it, document it, illustrate everything you're doing well, because you know that you've achieved a lot. Tell your story, promote it, defend it, anticipate challenges to it, because you got to keep good things from falling apart. Not to be a specter of doom here, but hang together. Learn, really make time to reflect, celebrate, and recognize what it is that has made you such an effective team. So again, thanks from the top. Without that, things are much more difficult. So good luck.
Thank you, Member Tchaikovsky. Any other comments? All right, seeing none, this is an action item. Is there a motion by a committee member? Member Tchaikovsky.
Yeah, I move that we accept the recommendation for accreditation in Montebello.
All right, thank you. Is there a second? Second by Member Balatayo. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Jose Luis Alvarado.
Aye.
Cynthia Amos.
Aye.
Jomaline Balatayo.
Aye.
Kathy Crecia.
Aye.
Katrina Tchaikovsky.
Aye.
Cheryl Forbes.
Aye.
Robert Fraley.
Aye.
Michael Hillis.
Aye.
Martin Martinez.
Aye.
Anna Moore.
Aye.
Gerard Morrison.
Aye.
Iris Ricks.
Aye.
Motion carries. Congratulations, Montebello. I know it's been a long haul, and again, you've done what needed to be done, and you took the comments seriously and took them to heart and did the work, and you're like a poster child at this point. So thank you so much, and congratulations, well deserved. And also thank you, Ms. Roby. All right, thank you. We're going to move on to item 13. Item 13 is a discussion of the required 7th year report from Pomona Unified School District. Consultant Gabe Roby will introduce the item. And joining our institutional representatives, Catherine Murillo-Schoen, Director of Equity and Professional Learning, Pat Pollock, Program Administrator, Induction Programs, Marcy Santos, Teacher Specialist, Induction Program, and then Marlo Albert, did I say that correctly?
Oh, there, very closely.
Oh, I'm going to do it again.
A bear. Yes.
Marlo, oh, Bear.
There you
go.
go.
I got it. Teacher Specialist, Teacher Induction Program. Anyone need to recuse himself? All right, seeing none, Ms. Roby.
I need
I'm sorry, there is one. Member Martinez, thank you.
Thank you.
You bet. And then.
Hi, Pomona team.
Hi, Marty.
All right, Ms. Roby, please begin.
Thank you. In April of 2019, the Pomona Unified School District hosted a site visit with the report being presented to the Committee on Accreditation at their June meeting of that year. The district was granted accreditation but was asked for a 7th year report to report on the 2 items they saw as moving towards alignment with the standards, but more growth needed to be done. And those 2 items specifically were an update on the progress to expand their current assessment system so that all stakeholder groups were represented in getting feedback for the program. And then secondly, to continue to refining their program design to just drop off those extraneous documents and really make the ILP the centerpiece of the induction experience. Their report is attached as Appendix A to this item, and it's recommended by the staff that the COA accept their 7th year report.
Thank you, Ms. Roby. We now invite institutional representatives to briefly comment about the report.
Excuse me. Happy Thursday to everybody. I thank you for this opportunity to complete our accreditation cycle. We're very excited about that. The site visit was great. The report that we received back was very helpful, and we have definitely benefited from the changes that we've been encouraged to make. I just wanted to share, for example, when we did our exit interviews of the year 2s this year, it was so exciting that when we asked them what the most valuable feature of the program was, they mentioned things we changed this year based on the site report. For example, they were excited that we had simplified the recording of their activities onto this single ILP. They were excited about the fact we had combined our mentor and candidate group meetings to where they were all meeting at the same time. They had asked for that. So we've been trying to be really proactive in asking all the members of our community to help us make the program better. So every time we have a meeting, we say, what can we do to make it better? And our periodic interviews as well. So it was really gratifying for us to see the positive response to the changes, because it encourages us to continue soliciting feedback from all of the stakeholder groups. And probably the most important change related to the expanding of our current assessment system is in relation to improving our communication with site administrators. In fact, some of our responses to the site administrator surveys said, you know what, we need more communication. And we're going, gosh, that's what they told us at the site visit. So it was very exciting to be able to see those things and to continue working on those. We realized that if we're going to work as a team to support new teachers, we need to make sure that all members of the team are communicating. So work towards this goal is ongoing. We plan to address communication between mentors and site administrators at our mentor trainings. It used to be that induction kind of kept away, and I'm thinking even BITSA, because I've been doing this for 20 years since this was BITSA, whenever we kind of kept the mentors and the site administrators at arm's length, so the candidates wouldn't get the feeling that they're telling on me, or I can't be totally candid with my mentor because they're going to go report on this. But now we're kind of realizing that no, it's important for everyone who's supporting a candidate to be working together. So we are going to be working with that collaboration with the site administrators as well. So we just want to thank you, and especially thank Gay Roby for getting us through this process. She's on quick dial. I've texted her, we've sent emails to her, and she has been so supportive. So thank you so much to Gay as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pollack. Any other member of the institution wish to make a comment?
Just adding very quickly to what Dr. Pollack just said, just, a huge thank you to the visiting team, especially Ms. Gay Roby. As Dr. Pollack said, we've learned so much. What an invaluable insight that you guys have given us to make sure that we're constantly looking at that, embedding the improvement science in the way we do things, right? Not just on the outcome data, but also the process, the constantly asking the user how their experience was, and walking away from induction as if like you're always there and wanting to learn, wanting to deepen the learning. And we're very fortunate to have a district with Superintendent Martinez cabinet and board whose priority is always induction and having our teachers and leaders grow as efficacious leaders throughout the system. So we want to just get this opportunity to thank you all for your support.
Great, thank you for the comments, appreciate it. Anyone else wish to make a comment? Opportunity for committee members to offer any comments or questions. Okay, seeing none, this is an action item, but no action is required on this report because the institution already has full accreditation. So the committee could vote to accept the report if you'd like to do that. Is there a motion to accept the report? So moved by Member Alvarado, second by Member Tchaikovsky. The Secretary, please call the roll.
Jose Luis Alvarado.
Aye.
Cynthia Amos.
Aye.
Jomeline Balatayo.
Aye.
Kathy Kreisha.
Aye.
Katrina Tchaikovsky.
Aye.
Cheryl Forbes.
Aye.
Robert Fraley.
Aye.
Michael Hillis.
Aye.
Anna Moore.
Aye.
Gerard Morrison.
Aye.
Iris Ray.
Aye.
Great, and thank you. Congratulations. Thanks for joining us, everyone from the Pomona Unified School District. And thank you, Ms. Roby, as well. Thank you. Have a good day. We're going to keep moving along. We're making up some time a little bit here. We still have the other items in the morning that are not time certain. So we're going to move forward to item number 14. And item number 14 is a report of the focus site visit for Turlock Unified School District. Director Terry Clark will introduce the item. Also joining her is team lead Barbara Howard and institutional representatives David Latig, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, and Dennis Duwell, Coordinator of Professional Development and Induction. Does anyone need to recuse himself? All right, seeing none, Ms. Clark, will you please begin?
Yes, thank you, committee members. We're very excited to bring this report to you. This is the report from the first accreditation site visit to a institution that holds provisional approval. As you know, the commission modified its initial institutional approval processes a number of years ago, and it is now a 5-stage process. When an institution gets to the 4th stage and they are provisionally approved, they may operate their programs till they get a full group of completers. And after there's this full set of completers, then a focused site visit team is sent to the institution. And by sent, we mean we interact through Zoom because of the pandemic. So this visit and this report is a little bit different. You are not actually going to make a decision for accreditation. You are going to discuss this as if it were a normal site visit. What would your decision have been? And then that information is going to go to the commission at their August commission meeting, and the commission is going to consider, should this entity receive full approval and move into the regular 7-year accreditation cycle. Because this was the first time we did it, and it was a very busy year, I said, let me take this. We will figure out the processes as we go, and that's exactly what we did. We had a stellar team led by Barbara Howard, including Julie Sheldon from Walnut Valley and Kimberly Lilienthal from Placer County. Years and years of induction experience. They served as the program review readers. They reviewed the program review submission, which was a modification from a standard program review. We call it the Focus Site Visit Program Review. They also then reviewed the Focus Site Visit Common Standards submission. Then they prepared for the site visit, which was held in May, the 11th through the 13th. Denise Duell is the program coordinator from the Turlock Unified School District, and she worked with me since last summer. We had a monthly meeting, just like we do with all of our institutions that are hosting a site visit. And the way I look at this is, instead of just saying, you're a new entity and here are your new programs, go out and do your best and we'll come to a site visit. Instead, the new system says, you're a new entity and we are going to induct you into this system. We are going to support you and guide you. And now Turlock Unified has, in essence, experienced the full 7-year cycle in their 3 years of existence. Because this is also a different process, there's actually an additional section to your report. As we were holding the site visit and we realized we have close to 50 years of teacher induction experience on this team, we thought, wow, this program is in its teenage years. It's about to move into its full majority as a full program, hopefully, with full approval. What if the team members actually identified some areas where the program and or the unit as a whole could consider for its future growth, rather than just saying, oh, you meet the standards or you don't meet the standards? So there's an additional section at the end of this report, which does not appear in any standard report, where the team members really thought about everything they saw. And it's distinct from the standard findings. The standard findings were completed, and then they said, what else might be helpful to this institution? And so that's that last part of the report. So when our team lead, Barbara Howard, shares her report, then your discussion will be, what would the accreditation decision be if this were an institution in the full system? And I think that concludes my introduction. So I will turn it over to Ms. Howard, our team lead extraordinaire.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. It's just great to be with you today. And thank you, Terry. It was truly an honor and a great professional experience to be part of this very first initial institutional focused site visit of Turlock Unified School District's teacher induction program. The visit was conducted completely virtually. We were a 3-person team along with Terry, our consultant. I really have to give the utmost thanks to my amazing and stellar colleagues, Julie Sheldon and Kimberly Lilienthal. Terry, I'm not going to take offense at the number of years she's reminding we have experience that sort of dates us, but we really had fun together as we talked about these things, and just really can't say enough about what a positive process it was. I also really want to give special thanks to Turlock's program director, Denise Duell, for her amazing work. She was so open and gracious and responsive, and it just really was a wonderful collaborative process as we worked together. The team conducted, and I guess maybe I'll add in there also, I was nervous, about the program being fully, or the visit being fully online, and there wasn't the slightest hitch. Everything worked beautifully, and Denise and her team deserve a lot of credit for organizing that so beautifully. The team conducted interviews with all constituent groups, including district leadership, and in the examination of the evidence, the team found that all program and common standards were met. Several particularly compelling facets of Turlock's program led the team to their decisions. I'd just like to highlight 2 of those today. I'm sure you've read the report and the glowing comments about the program itself. First of all, the candidates in Turlock really affirmed that their induction journey was meaningful and supportive. Their experience did focus on their individual learning goals and included a strong system of personalized support. Candidates overwhelmingly reported that their seminars were a valuable use of their time and were especially rich in networking and collaborative opportunities. Completers and mentors were also overwhelmingly positive about the changes that had taken place, and a lot of this was in response to feedback that had come along the way for Denise and her team during the review process. Their ILP had been streamlined and enhanced, and I have to make this comment, I as a reviewer did not hear one single complaint from candidates or mentors. And those of you that have been on this circuit a while know that's kind of unusual. I did not hear one single complaint, not a single outlier even, about the process. And they all were so expressed such appreciation for the positive support that they received. And the second facet that is really important to point out was this was truly an exemplary leadership model. The program director was praised by every single stakeholder group that we interviewed. She leads with heart and with careful attention to the needs of every program constituent. And additionally, she's very well supported by the district leadership. This was evidenced by the active participation of the superintendent and every member of her cabinet, both in the interview process as well as in our final reporting out of the findings. They give their program director the authority that she needs to implement a great program, but they're also very involved and committed to ensuring the program's success. Every leader we spoke to, the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, the school principals, IEG program partners, they all affirmed how integral the program is to the success of the district and the development of teachers who are well equipped to serve in their unique context. The superintendent commented, teachers will come to the district because of what they see. They will stay because of what they feel. We want to make sure that they feel supported and affirmed. Several interviewees expressed their appreciation for the culture in the program that allowed them to take risks and grow through their failures. The team therefore found that all common and program standards were met in the current operation of the program and unanimously recommend accreditation for the Turlock Unified School District Teacher Induction Program.
Right.
I, at this time, would like to speak a bit about the facet of the report that Terry noted, where we were given this wonderful opportunity to put our heads together as colleagues and say, yes, standards are being met, but this is a new program. In what ways might they improve? And so as leaders, we recommended these following items. For program growth, mentors would benefit from support in fully utilizing the IIP within the mentoring process. We were still hearing a bit of, yeah, we do our mentoring, but then we do the IIP. So we talked about utilizing the ILP rubric and having all mentors fully calibrated in the ILP scoring process in order to make that ILP truly at the heart of their mentoring relationship. And then as far as unit growth, the team recommended creating a truly collaborative leadership model that includes a variety of individuals analyzing data and suggesting program and unit modifications. We also suggested just strengthening the formal review of data that's collected in the ILP, as well as formalizing the evaluation and recognition of mentors. And the details of those recommendations you see there in your reports. The program's leadership was so appreciative of these growth recommendations, and in fact has already begun implementing them. The visit truly exemplified an approach to accreditation that is all about continual growth. One of the candidates made a comment that was just, I've written it down and thought it was so compelling and found it valuable in my own life. She said, "This is just a moment. It doesn't define me. It's a journey of growth." And this growth mindset truly permeates the culture of the Turlock Unified School District's induction program and drives their candidate success. So it was, again, a great honor. I'm very grateful to have been part of this and look forward to hearing more about the success of this good program. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sauer, for the very detailed, thorough report. Appreciate it. That's an opportunity now for committee members to offer any comment or questions. Co-Chair Moore.
I just wanted to thank you for the fantastic into Ms. Clark. Really appreciated that. That was nice to be reminded of the context. And Barbara, great report. I loved it, and so glad that you did get the opportunity to think about and provide some recommendations on future growth. I would love to have that in any report that I received on one of my programs. And the comment about a growth mindset, I don't think any program can go wrong if you're moving with that growth mindset at the forefront of your pathways. So congratulations, great work, team.
Thank you. Member Tchaikovsky.
Yeah, I would echo some of those comments. And as someone who's just gone through program review down the road, I guess I would just ask about strategies that the team used to elicit those reflective comments from members of your team or members of the program management at of your own program, or what was the origin of those findings? Like, where did they come from? I guess I'd be a little curious about how those were elicited or unearthed or birthed, whichever metaphor we want to use.
So Catherine, your question is, how did the team come up with the recommendations that we offered?
Well, the reflections at the end, for growth, I think is what I'm referring to. Yeah.
That was truly a comment that one of the candidates, or I'm sorry, it was one of the completers made. So this was a teacher who had grown through the induction experience, and I wrote it down as a comment that she made as she was giving her, expressing her appreciation for the program. And so that was just her mindset. I don't know that we did anything special to elicit. I think it was in a closing. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us about what you experienced in the program? And that was what she offered.
Yeah, I just kind of asked that because I think so much of the power of this whole accreditation system is the way the pieces fit together and the way programs are encouraged to, through the collection of data and various artifacts, are kind of given a mirror into their own practice. So I guess I was just kind of curious about how that happens early on. Like, what kinds of questions seem to be most fruitful in terms of getting self-reflection from the people served in these programs? And it sounds like more like, in my experience too, the open-ended questions, what else would you like to share? As long as there's some sense of trust and intent, then people will be a lot more likely to be honest about that at the onset. And I think that that's important, because if people are just telling us what we want to hear in the beginning, then this whole attempt to reshape initial approval is going to be less effective than it could be otherwise. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Tchaikovsky. Any other member wish to make a comment? All right, seeing none, this is an action item, so is there a motion?
Co-Chair Fraley, could we offer Denise Duell an opportunity to make any comments?
Oh, absolutely.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I really can't thank Terry and Barbara enough. They made what was kind of a stressful process more palatable. Terry's support the whole way through was incredible as she answered questions constantly and just really helped us fine-tune things so that when the team arrived, we were ready. And I, again, just can't thank them enough. And I love the reflections and ideas for future growth on the report, because it really gave us a chance to look at our program again and say, oh, here are some areas where we can make some very positive changes. And we have started that already with our mentoring and what we work on in our first mentoring sessions to really make sure they understand the rubric and the ILP. So it's been an exciting process, actually. Thank you.
Very glad to hear it. Thank you for the comments. Glad you were able to interject. Thank you. All right, any other comments? All right, this is an action item, so is there a motion? Member Forbes.
I move that we accept the, sorry, I just had it. I move that we accept the report and that we would have, the way I understand I'm supposed to make the motion, we would have, had this been a regular report, recommended accreditation for the institution.
Great.
Did that come out right?
Yeah, well done. Thank you. Is there a second? Second by Member Alvarado. Secretary, please call the roll.
Jose Luis Alvarado.
Aye.
Cynthia Amos.
Aye.
Jomeline Belatayo.
Aye.
Kathy Krisha.
Aye.
Katrina Tchaikovsky.
Aye.
Cheryl Forbes.
Aye.
Robert Fraley.
Aye.
Michael Hellis.
Aye.
Martin Martinez.
Aye.
Anna Moore.
Aye.
Gerard Morrison.
Aye.
Iris Riggs.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Congratulations. Thank you, Ms. Howard. Thank you, Ms. Duell, Mr. Lattig, and Ms. Clark. Thank you so much. Let's do item 15, and then maybe after 15, Anna, Co-Chair Moore, you want to go ahead and take over after that? Does that work? Okay. So item 15, I know we have the representatives available. It's a discussion of the required 7th year report from San Diego State University. Administrator Erin Sullivan will introduce the item. Joining her are institutional representatives Dr. Karen Myers-Bowman, Senior Associate Dean, College of Education, Dr. Lynn Burkaw, Director of the School of Teacher Education, and Dr. Nina Salcedo-Potter, Director of Assessment and Accreditation for the College of Education. Does anyone need to recuse themselves? One recuse, several recusals. Member Forbes, Member Tchaikovsky. Anyone else? All right, Ms. Sullivan, will you please begin?
I will, thank you. Yes, and San Diego State University does have a broad-reaching program. So the site visit to San Diego State University took place in February, late February 2019. The report of that site visit was then presented to you, the COA, in June of 2019. The findings of the team on all of the common standards and on the standards of 14 of San Diego State's 16 programs were found to be met. On one standard, standard 2, preparing candidates toward mastery of the TPEs, which is a standard that's common to both the preliminary multiple and preliminary single subject programs. The team found that standard to be met, but with some concerns around the extent to which the institution was ensuring that its candidates had the opportunity to learn and practice digital literacy and the use of technology, the concepts of universal design for learning and multi-tiered systems of support models for supporting students, and the use of student IEPs and 504 plans for planning instruction and assessment of those students. The team's recommendation to the COA was then that the institution be granted full accreditation, but be required to follow up with a 7th year report in order to demonstrate how it has addressed the concerns around these elements of the TPEs. In late May of this year, San Diego State University did submit to me a thorough report with links to a variety of pieces of evidence demonstrating where this content is addressed in the program. This includes providing links to updated course syllabi, specific examples of lessons, assignments, tools that are provided to their candidates related to learning and practicing UDL and MTSS, how student IEP and 504 content is delivered to these candidates and how they have an opportunity to practice this, where the digital literacy is being brought in for the candidates, not only delivered to them, but how they have opportunities to experience digital learning classrooms on campus as part of their programs. It was a great report. It was an honor to read it. It was a very extensive report with all of the evidence pieces to it. It was over 350 pages long, but I have to thank San Diego State for organizing it so well with all of the links in the report, which I'm sure you noticed as you read through the report, made it so easy to go through it and look at each piece of evidence. I was really grateful for the organization of it. And it was really a pleasure to read it. So at this time, I will just, open, this is not an action item. This was a 7th year report to follow up, but I will open, obviously, to you COA members to your discussion. And as Commissioner, as Committee Member Fraley said, we do have institutional representatives here to talk to you if you have any questions.
All right, thank you, Ms. Sullivan. We now invite the institutional representatives to briefly comment about the report.
Hi, this is Nina Potter. First, we want to thank the team again, the visiting team that came for our accreditation visit. We appreciate all the feedback they gave us. And although at first it was a little like, what, an area of concern, that's not what we expected. It was actually a good opportunity for us to work across our program to do multiple single subject, have faculty across the programs come together, talk about what they do, how different faculty teach these concepts and areas, and for all faculty to have an opportunity to update syllabi, add new material to their courses as needed. And I think it was a really good opportunity for us. So thank you. And I think our program is better because of it.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Potter. Anybody else wish to make a comment?
I also wanted to say thank you, and Erin, thank you so much for your reading of our 350-page report as well. And I think as a director of a school teacher education, what was really interesting is I'm like, oh wait, we have the UDL and the MTSS, and yet when I looked at the syllabi closely, it's team taught by someone in general ed and someone in SPED, and we didn't make that explicit. And so that was a really important thing for me as a department chair or director to be able to go, oh, we need to really let students know that this is what's happening and make it explicit. So thank you for that.
All right, thank you, Ms. Burkow. Anyone else wish to make a comment? All right, any questions or comments from any committee members? All right, seeing none, this is an action item. However, action is not required as the institution already has full accreditation. We could, as a committee, vote to accept the report. I would recommend, since so much time has been put in by those who prepared the report and those who read the report, that I think a vote for formal note in the record would be appropriate. So is there anybody who would wish to make a motion to accept the team report? Committee Member Hillis.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the report, 7th year report.
All right, thank you. Is there a second? Second by Member Crecia. Secretary, please call the roll.
Jose Luis Alvarado.
Aye.
Cynthia Amos. Aye. Jolene Balatayo.
Aye.
Kathy Crecia.
Aye.
Robert Fraley.
Aye.
Michael Hillis.
Aye.
Martin Martinez.
Aye.
Anna Moore.
Aye.
Gerard Morrison.
Aye.
Iris Briggs.
Aye.
It's been accepted. Thank you so much for your hard work on the report, and thank you, Ms. Sutherland, as well. Thank you, Dr. Myers-Bowman, Dr. Burkaw, Dr. Potter. Thank you all for your efforts. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, at this point, we're going to keep plugging along, but I'm going to turn the virtual gavel over to Anna, Co-Chair Moore. She's going to take over at this point.